Integrity Fusion requires that only operators who have been properly trained and certified as qualified do all permanent field installations. Before starting, inspect the worksite, making sure the area is dry and free of obstructions and potential hazards. In the event of bad weather, follow established inclement weather procedures before proceeding. Conditions can be improved with tents and/or blanketing equipment. Do not proceed with the fusion process if there is any water coming into contact with the fusion area, since this can have a significant impact on the quality of the fusion joint. If installed in an excavated pit, the technician must ensure that the area is adequately exposed and free of mud and contaminants. Initial cleaning of the pipe ends can be done using water. Always remain at the fusion site and observe the fitting during the fusion process as a general safety practice. Integrity Fusion recommends that you have the following equipment on hand. Fusion equipment, which includes a fusion processor or processors with the appropriate tips, a reliable and adequately sized power supply, an extension cord of recommended length and wire gauge, adequate fuel on hand to complete all fusion joints, IntegraFuse electrofusion coupler, pipe preparation equipment, which includes pipe marking tools to be used to mark the outer surface of the pipe as a visual aid indicating the required stab depths and scraper coverage. There are no specific markers we recommend. However, these marks should not be made with a grease pencil or any other type of petroleum-based marker that will leave a contaminant. Pipe measuring tools to be used to determine fitting placement, stab depths, and pipe ovality. The most common measurement tools used are steel tapes and pie tapes. Pipe cutting tools to be used for making a square cut on the pipe ends. For small pipe diameters, a blade-type pipe cutter or cutting saw can be used. For larger diameter pipes, a chainsaw can be used, making sure beforehand that it has absolutely no bar oil in it. Failure to cut the pipe ends square increases the chance of producing a short stab situation that can result in unwanted wire exposure and inadequate melt generation in the fusion zone. Pipe scraping tools to be used to remove the oxidation layer from the surface of the pipe. We recommend the use of either a mechanical scraping tool with a tungsten carbide steel blade or a power scraping tool where available. A recommended minimum of 7/1000ths of an inch to 10/1000ths of an inch of the pipe surface material must be removed in order to expose virgin material on the pipe. Manual scraping devices such as paint scrapers and Surform files are no longer recommended for use. Pipe cleaning material to be used to make sure that the pipe surface is clean and free from any type of contaminants that may be encountered before and after scraping. Plain water may be initially used to remove the surface level of these contaminants such as dirt and mud. However, water cannot be used to clean the pipe surfaces once the pipe has been scraped and virgin material has been exposed. A 96% or greater isopropyl alcohol solution with no additional additives and a clean lint-free rag is recommended to remove contaminants and has been found to be highly effective. Pipe beveling tools to be used for both deburring and beveling the pipe ends to help facilitate easier initial installation of the fitting on the pipe and to prevent inadvertent damage to the wires in the coupler's fusion zone during installation. A router with a 22.5-degree angle bit or a power planer has been found to work sufficiently. Pipe rerounding tools are typically required on larger pipe diameters to aid in sliding the coupler onto the pipe as well as minimize the possibility of experiencing excessive gaps during the fusion process. Care must be taken to ensure that the polyethylene pipe is not out of round before attempting the electrofusion process. Pipe alignment and restraint equipment. We recommend the use of some form of pipe restraint and support be used for the purpose of controlling and eliminating any movement or any external forces being exerted on the pipe or fitting during the fusion process. Coupler installation. Before proceeding, verify that both sides of the pipe are within spec using a pie tape and pipe chart to ensure that the pipe OD is within the standard tolerance of ASTM F714. If the pipe is not in spec, do not proceed with fusion. Check the pipe ends for excessive toe-in and the pipe surface for flat spots and excessive gouges. If a toe-in condition exists, it should not exceed more than 2 inches from the pipe end, and if it does exceed 2 inches, then the pipe ends should be recut. Damaged ends, flat spots, and deep gouges in the area to be fused should be cut back to where the pipe surface is in acceptable condition and the pipe OD falls within tolerance. Pipe ends must be cut to as close to a 90-degree angle as possible. A maximum of only 5 degrees deviation is allowed. It may be necessary to use a visual or mechanical guide to help keep your cut square. Mark your stab depth by first measuring the total length of the electrofusion coupler, then making a mark from the pipe end that is 1/2 the total length of the coupler. This mark is to indicate the stab depth and will help ensure that the pipe end is inserted to the center of the coupler. If the coupler is to be pushed completely over one pipe end, be sure to make a mark that represents the full length of the coupler as well. Check the pipe ends for excessive out-of-round conditions by measuring the pipe diameter vertically and horizontally with a tape measure. This will help determine the high and low points of the pipe. The difference between the high and low diameters should not exceed 1/4 inch. If required, a re-rounding clamp should be placed immediately to the outside of the mark indicating the stab depth or the mark identifying the full length of coupler. Do not scrape the high side of an out-of-round pipe for any reason. This could result in an over-scraped situation. Clearly mark the fusion area to be scraped by highlighting the fusion zone areas with your approved marker. Remove the surface area of the pipe being fused by running your scraping device over the marked pipe surface until the outer layer or skin of the pipe has been removed and a clean surface of virgin pipe material has been exposed. Inspect the entire circumference of the scraped area to ensure total scraping coverage. Under no circumstances should you use abrasives such as sandpaper or emery cloth, grinding wheels, wire wheels, or other devices that do not cleanly remove the contaminated material from the surface of the pipe. Correct excessive pipe out-of-round conditions by using your re-rounding clamps where needed. This will help in reducing the required effort in sliding the coupler onto the pipe during the insertion process, as well as help in reducing the gaps between the pipe and coupler surface. A gap that's too large will result in insufficient melt generation in the fusion zone and could potentially fail to sufficiently close the pipe and coupler interface. Deburr and bevel the pipe ends using a router with a 22.5-degree angle bit or a power planer. This will facilitate easier installation of the coupler onto the pipe and prevent possible damage to the fusion coils during installation. Clean the fusion zones one more time using a 96% or greater isopropyl alcohol solution and a clean, lint-free rag by wiping down the fusion zones on the scraped pipe surface and the inside walls of your IntegraFuse coupler. Take care to not recontaminate your cleaned areas by touching them. If the prepared area is not to be assembled immediately, a plastic bag or plastic sheeting material can be used to cover the scraped area on the pipe, and the coupler can be placed back into its original plastic packaging until the assembly is to be made. Begin your assembly by pushing the IntegraFuse coupler onto the pipe ends so that the stab depth marks are aligned at the outer edges of the coupler. If necessary, use a rubber mallet, a dead blow hammer, or metal hammer with wood blocks to carefully nudge the coupler onto the pipe. Your re-rounding clamps can be used as anchors for pulling couplers onto the pipe with mechanical assist devices such as a come-along or a hand winch. Check for excessive gaps. With a flashlight and a 7-inch long electrical tie, you should visually check for excessive gaps prior to fusion of the coupler, making adjustments using your re-rounding equipment accordingly. Beginning the electrofusion sequence. Check your equipment, making sure that all cables, plugs, and adapters are plugged in and the lead tips are tight. Verify that the electrofusion processor switch is in the off position. Make sure that your generator is fueled, operating normally, and is running at full throttle. Turn on the processor and wait for software initialization to complete. When prompted, press Start to begin. When prompted, connect the processor leads to the IntegraFuse coupler, making sure that both connections are tight and secure. Failure to do so can result in unwanted arcing at the loose connection and result in an interrupted fusion cycle and potentially blown fuses in the processor. At the prompt, scan the barcode. Depending on the level of traceability chosen, follow the prompts and answer the questions on the processor screen and press OK to proceed to the next screen. On the final screen, you'll be prompted to choose between beginning the fusion or to abort the process. Press Start to begin fusion. When the fusion cycle is completed, the processor will beep indicating it is done and it is time to remove the leads from the coupler. Let the coupler cool for the recommended cooling time indicated on the label. Repeat the electrofusion sequence for the next side of the coupler or next fitting. Let the coupler cool for the recommended cooling time indicated on the label and then use a flashlight and a 4-inch electrical tie to verify that the pipe and coupler interface gaps are closed and that adequate melt in the fusion zones around the fitting has taken place. For traceability purposes, we highly recommend that the installer use the approved marker to record on the pipe surface next to the fitting, the installer's initials, the time the fusion cycle completed, and the date of the install. For more information on electrofusion fittings and procedures, contact Integrity Fusion Products, your one-stop shop for polyethylene fitting solutions, where molded makes a difference.